What if I told you that in just 5 days, one simple series of mistakes could destroy the love you cherish? The worst part? It all happens because of non-stoic choices. In this video, we're going to explore 5 key decisions that, when made without the wisdom of Stoicism, can unravel even the strongest relationships. Stoicism isn't just a personal philosophy, it's a powerful tool for maintaining harmony in relationships. At its core, it teaches emotional control, rational thinking, and self-awareness, qualities that are essential when navigating the complexities of love. When we forget these principles, even the best relationships can be torn apart by miscommunication, emotional outbursts, and unchecked reactions. The purpose of today's video is simple: to break down 5 common, non-stoic choices that can quickly destroy love. In just 5 days, these mistakes can lead to hurt feelings, confusion, and distance between you and your partner. Let's dive in and learn how to avoid these pitfalls by staying true to the Stoic path. Day 1. Reacting without reflection. Acting impulsively without taking a moment to reflect. Imagine this: a minor disagreement, maybe about household chores or a forgotten plan, sparks a heated argument between 2 partners. One partner, frustrated or stressed, reacts immediately with anger or defensiveness. They don't take a step back to reflect on what's really going on. Instead, they lash out with sharp words, fueling the fire. This impulsive emotional reaction escalates the situation, turning a small issue into a larger conflict. The partner who feels attacked might respond in kind, creating a cycle of reactive behavior that spirals out of control. Why it's destructive? The Stoic principle of reflecting before reacting, something Marcus Aurelius emphasized, has been completely ignored. Instead of pausing to consider the other person's perspective or the situation at hand, both partners are driven by emotion. By neglecting the practice of thoughtful reflection, the argument becomes a battle of egos, with both sides digging in their heels instead of working toward a solution. The relationship begins to feel less like a partnership and more like a battleground, where each disagreement triggers an emotional war rather than a calm, reasoned discussion. Immediate emotional damage. The words said in the heat of the moment can't easily be taken back. Misunderstandings begin to pile up, trust erodes, and the emotional distance between the partners grows. What could have been a simple conversation turns into a rift, leaving both people hurt and confused. Day 2. Blaming others instead of taking responsibility. Shifting blame rather than taking responsibility for your own actions. After a small conflict, one partner refuses to acknowledge their part in the situation and instead blames the other. They might say things like, "You never listen," or "It's always your fault," deflecting any responsibility for their own actions. The focus is placed on the other person's behavior, while their own role in the conflict goes unacknowledged. This sets the stage for tension and misunderstandings to continue. Why it's destructive? Stoicism teaches us to take responsibility for our actions, no matter how small. Epictetus reminds us, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond." When we blame others, we give away control of our emotional response. We shift the focus to external factors rather than looking inward at how we contributed to the situation. This failure to reflect on one's own role leads to unresolved issues and emotional stagnation. Blaming the other partner creates division and resentment. Instead of seeing each other as a team working through challenges, they become opponents in a constant power struggle. It breaks down communication as one partner feels defensive and the other feels unheard, creating a toxic loop of accusation. The cycle of defensiveness and blame sets in. Both partners become entrenched in their positions, each feeling attacked by the other. The emotional distance grows, and the connection they once shared begins to weaken. This unresolved tension builds over time, preventing true understanding and resolution. Day 3. Neglecting empathy and compassion. Failing to practice empathy, understanding, or compassion in the face of the partner's vulnerabilities. Imagine this. One partner is going through a difficult time. Maybe they're stressed at work, struggling with a health issue, or dealing with personal loss. Instead of offering support, the other partner responds with frustration or indifference, saying something like, "Why can't you just get over it?" Rather than showing care or trying to understand what the other person is going through, they dismiss their feelings. Why it's destructive? Stoicism teaches us to be tolerant with others and strict with ourselves, as Marcus Aurelius wisely advised. Compassion and empathy are vital for maintaining a healthy relationship. They help us see beyond our own frustrations and consider our partner's emotional state, recognizing that they may be struggling in ways we don't fully understand. When we fail to show empathy, we ignore the emotional needs of our partner and overlook the importance of kindness in nurturing the relationship. Without empathy, love becomes transactional, where one partner feels like they must navigate life's difficulties alone. The emotional bond begins to weaken as the partner who feels dismissed withdraws, feeling unsupported and misunderstood. This emotional neglect leads to feelings of isolation and abandonment. The partner who is struggling may begin to retreat emotionally, closing off from the other. The lack of connection and compassion erodes the intimacy of the relationship, leaving both partners feeling distant and disconnected. The lack of empathy, in turn, becomes a barrier to love, deepening the divide. Day 4. Letting external circumstances control your emotions. Allowing external factors like work stress, money problems, or social events to dictate your emotional state. Picture this. One partner comes home after a tough day at work, visibly upset and frustrated. Instead of managing their emotions or taking a moment to reflect, they allow their stress to spill over into the relationship. They snap at their partner, blaming them for something that has nothing to do with the situation at hand. The partner, on the receiving end of the outburst, feels unfairly attacked or blamed for an issue they can't control. Why it's destructive? Stoicism teaches us the crucial distinction between external events and our internal responses. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In this situation, the partner who's upset by external factors fails to manage their internal state and instead transfers that frustration onto their partner. This creates unnecessary conflict and places the burden of external stress on someone who has no control over it. By not separating their emotional reaction from the external circumstances, the partner is essentially using the relationship as a release valve for their stress, which causes immediate harm to the dynamic between them. Over time, this pattern leads to emotional burnout and resentment. The relationship, instead of being a space for mutual support and understanding, becomes a battleground for stress and frustration. It becomes toxic, where the emotional safety that once existed begins to erode and the love between the partners fades under the weight of unmanaged emotions. Day 5. Focusing on the negative and ignoring gratitude. Dwelling on the negative and failing to cultivate gratitude for the relationship. Consider this. One partner becomes fixated on everything that's wrong in the relationship. They constantly criticize their partner's actions, point out flaws, and express dissatisfaction. Even when the other partner makes an effort to improve, it feels like it's never enough. The small moments of kindness and love, the gestures that once brought joy, go unnoticed. Instead, all that seems to matter are the shortcomings and perceived failures. Why it's destructive. Stoicism teaches us the importance of focusing on the positive aspects of life and practicing gratitude. Marcus Aurelius wisely reminds us, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When we neglect to focus on what is good in our relationships, we create a negative atmosphere that breeds dissatisfaction. Failing to recognize the efforts of our partner and acknowledge their kindness leads to resentment. The partner who is constantly criticized begins to feel taken for granted, and their efforts to improve feel futile. Without gratitude, the emotional bond weakens and the relationship begins to feel less fulfilling. When one partner's mindset is clouded by negativity, it can create a sense of emotional imbalance, where love is suffocated by constant dissatisfaction. Over time, this negativity builds a barrier between the two partners. What once felt like a partnership filled with mutual care and affection turns into a cycle of criticism and frustration. Instead of nurturing the relationship with appreciation, one partner inadvertently pushes the other away, eroding the foundation of love. The aftermath. How these choices destroy love. Reflecting on the 5 days of non-Stoic choices, the damage to the relationship is clear. Each decision, from reacting impulsively to neglecting empathy, contributes to emotional distance and a breakdown in communication. Trust fades as both partners fail to take responsibility for their actions and neglect the key Stoic virtues that once strengthened their bond. Instead of building a strong foundation based on respect, understanding, and emotional control, the relationship becomes fragile. The love that once felt steady and secure begins to slip away as negative emotions and unresolved issues accumulate. Love isn't something that can be left to chance. It requires conscious effort to embody Stoic virtues like emotional control, self-reflection, responsibility, empathy, and gratitude. Without these practices, relationships can crumble under the weight of unaddressed challenges, leaving partners feeling lost and disconnected. Returning to Stoicism for healing. If you've recognized any of these non-Stoic choices in your own relationship, there's good news. You can turn things around. By returning to Stoic principles, reflecting before reacting, taking responsibility, practicing empathy, and focusing on gratitude, you can rebuild the foundation of your love. The key to healing lies in applying Stoic wisdom to everyday moments. When we consciously choose to control our emotions, communicate openly, and cultivate understanding, we create a space where love can flourish, even during tough times. Love, like any meaningful pursuit, requires effort. By embracing Stoicism, we give ourselves and our partners the tools to nurture a love that lasts. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving together, grounded in respect, compassion, and wisdom.